Hello again. This is the video blog for Black Family Lies, the movie. And I realized I really didn't tell you a whole lot about what the movie is about. I just pretty much told you it basically follows the book I wrote, but it's not a complete one-on-one compilation of the book. What I decided to do was streamline things that happened to me, and it pretty much starts off in the present day where I've won some kind of award and people asking me questions about do I still hold animosity for my family, speaking of all the things I've been through and the people who put me through it, and the answer of course is no, I don't. I know the backstory to my family's issues, and so I kind of understand the mindset that they had. I didn't say justifies, I just understand. Which is something I didn't understand when I officially wrote the book. It took me a while of God working on me and me reading and going to counseling and NA and AA to really realize that my family has a cycle of abuse. It's a generational thing. My mom was abused, her mom was abused, and it just goes on, and I was determined that this was not going to fall on my child. I was not going to perpetuate another generation of domestic violence and sexual assault. Just wasn't going to happen. So I've been true to my word, and part of my truth and part of me making sure that it doesn't befall the next generation, my children or my children's children, I needed to break the cycle of silence that goes along with the abuse, which I did by writing the book and of course now doing the movie. It's going to break the cycle. It's going to continue the cycle. It's going to continue to change the cycle is what I want to say. It's going to make sure that the next generation doesn't have to deal with it, and they know what happened, and so therefore they know what not to do. At the same time, I'm trying to teach them what to do so that they don't do it again themselves. It's not always easy, but that's what this movie is going to do or help to do. And I really wanted I'm not doing this movie to hurt anybody. I'm really doing it to talk to people and let people see. For some reason, the stereotype of African Americans who are in low-income housing are the ones who abuse each other because, they poor, they dumb, they don't know no better, or, they got all this social stigmatism going on to them. They feel pushed down. They're the little man, and so therefore they lash out at each other because they can't lash out who they're really upset about, and it's such bull. I came from a middle-class family. My mom, and I say middle-class family because we're talking about middle class for African Americans. My mom worked at Philip Morris and made nice money, really nice money. From the time I was about 7 or 8 years of age, I didn't lack for any food or clothing or shelter. I didn't have any lack like that. Now my mom was an emotional iceberg, but as far as the comforts of home, no, I was not impoverished at all. I was not, making not peanut butter and jelly, but syrup sandwiches, unless I just really felt like making a syrup sandwich. I didn't have that. I didn't grow up like that. I didn't grow up with, mom made oatmeal to last for 5 days because there's nothing else in the house. No, we didn't have that kind of stuff. We had pretty much whatever we wanted to eat. Now, my mom didn't go out and buy a steak every day for us, but pretty much whatever we wanted to eat that she could cook, we had. So my movie talks about the lack of emotional attachment, the lack of concern, the lack of realizing that this is wrong and that we don't want to do this anymore. My mom had been abused, but she didn't see what I was going through as abuse because it wasn't quite the same as the abuse she suffered. So therefore it wasn't abuse. And she didn't want to deal with what was really going on, so she portrayed me as over-exaggerating or overactive imagination kind of thing. And the movie talks about those kinds of things. And I make sure that the movie doesn't paint her as a villain because she's not. What my mom was she was a victim with a victim mentality. It was the way she was raised. It was a mentality. It was a mindset that was passed on from her mom and most likely passed on from my grandmama's mom. It was just a generational thing. And who knows, it might have started back as far back as slavery. We haven't gone back that far. I just know it's gone at least 3 generations. And I didn't want to make it a 4th one. And so this movie talks about that. It also talks about the fact that I ended up on drugs. The fact that I ended up losing everything, including my son. I mean, he's still alive, but I lost custody of him for a while. And the fact that I ended up being a prostitute and living on the street. And when I tell people that, they look at me in shocked as if I'm supposed to be some strung out crack person who keeps twitching or something. It's like, really? Y'all watch too much TV. That's not the reality. That really is not the reality. The reality is we have a lot of functioning addicts who walk around this world who you don't know are addicts at all. You have a lot of people around here who are so broken. We have a lot of people who are hurting out there. Which is why I want to do this movie. And which is why I am doing this movie. Now, as I told you before, we talked about writing the script, which I've already done. I'm doing rewrites. We talked about the storyboard and, of course, the shot list, which are all great things. And you do need to have all those stuff. But you also need to do, of course, casting calls, which basically means getting the actors and actresses that you need to fill the roles of the characters you've created and the script you've already written. Now, when you're doing those kinds of things, I've learned that you have to have a nice place to meet everybody. You don't want everybody to meet in your house unless you're only having 2 or 3 characters. And they have to be 2 or 3 characters and have to be friends of yours, or, you know, people from acting school that you know, or people from church who are actors, those kinds of things. But complete strangers, you really don't want a whole bunch of strangers in your house. So, and you don't have a whole lot of money. Most indie filmmakers don't. So what I've learned is the public library does great for short meetings or, you know, rehearsals for 1 to 2 hours, or casting calls. I've had plenty of casting calls at the library. People came in, I gave them copies of the script, and they stood in there, and for an hour we just did the casting calls like that. However, if you're not in a big major city, like I learned that video auditions were really great. I use Backstage. I'm a member of Backstage, and with Backstage, I found that you can do casting calls, and they have the option of you can look for your actual people on Backstage for your casting calls, but you also can do the video audition. They have a button where they say you're going to do a video audition. You attach a piece of the script, or even in my case, what I most of the time use is I use some of the actual scripts that I've done acting to. And, you know, the little monologues are maybe 1 minute long, because those monologues have emotional scenes in them. And I want to see people's range of emotions, if they can really pull off the range of emotions. And if they can put that range of emotion off in a 1 minute scene or 1 minute script, then I know you can bring more emotion to something that's a little bit further extended out, where you can actually have time to build up your emotional state, versus that 1 minute where you have to kind of jam-pack all your emotions in one moment. So I use that. But I'm glad that Backstage has that actual video audition thing. You just put the attach on there and send it to them, and then you can tell them they can send it back via this and attach it to there. A lot of times if they're doing a bigger scene, they might have to use Google Docs, which is able to save the video chat or the video audition, because it has more space and more availability, and they can save it there and send it to you. Well, I think I've talked enough about my script and my little movie and about auditions for today. I hope to talk to y'all again tomorrow. Have a nice day. And before I go, I must say once more again, I will speak the truth. I will be heard.